the government says it's bad to pirate and play games. But what about playing pirate games? In a bid to let players live out their inner buccaneer, Namco Bandai has teamed up with Shonen Jump for One Piece Unlimited Adventure for the Wii. As the first full-fledged action-adventure based on the manga, does it make good on its promise of adventure on the high seas, or does it belong in Davy Jones's locker? One Piece Unlimited Adventure has players setting sail with the rambunctious Monkey D. Luffy, a globe-trotting pirate captain wannabe with dreams as vast as the sea. During an idle voyage, Luffy reels in a shining orb that illuminates the path towards a mysterious island paradise. Luffy and crew set out to comb the island of its many secrets, but they soon find out some treasures are best left buried.
Many people have been wounded! Just get them on the ships and tend to them there!
If you've only been keeping up with the American series, there's a fair amount of spoilers in the game. The plot is pretty standard, especially compared to some of the off-the-wall hijinks that One Piece is known for. There are plenty of flashbacks to prior events, but on its own, Unlimited Adventure's story is forgettable. When it comes to play options, Unlimited Adventure keeps things simple with Story Mode, the game's predominant single-player offering, Versus Mode, and Survival Mode. While the two battle modes aren't particularly remarkable, you get to play as one of the 40 unlockable characters you encounter in the story, bosses included. In the game's Story Mode, players have to unravel the mystery of the island by unlocking its various magically sealed areas and defeating the bosses contained within. As you may have guessed, exploration and platforming are key components of the game. You have to gather scores of trinkets, which are spent to unlock new areas. This process repeats constantly. It's not so much about finding out how to cross a river, but how to get enough items to have the game pave the way for you.
What?
Fortunately, ingenuity plays a bit of a role when it comes to the game's crafting aspect. Got a huge rock blocking the way? Collect some scrap timber and iron, and the crew's resident grease monkey can craft you a pickaxe to take care of business. Got an even bigger rock that needs breaking? Mixing up some homemade bombs out of gunpowder and flint will do the trick. With crafting, gathering becomes a much more practical task, where necessities like life-restoring potions and powerful new weapons are created entirely from scratch. With the tools you've created, even more avenues for hunting and gathering arise in breaking down barriers, digging up goods, or catching the occasional bug or fish on the go.
Tiny, but oh well.
Though crafting can be a somewhat rewarding part of the experience, it still falls to the same requirement-based pitfalls as item collecting to open new areas. You'll often find yourself stuck as to where to go next, only to find out that you have to craft a certain object to progress. Worse still is that these objects often have little to do with the context of the situation. Who ever heard of mixing drinks and gathering metals to make a magical wall disappear? The fact that you have to run back to camp every time you want to craft something doesn't help much either, and suffice to say, plundering islands for loot isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Unlimited Adventure's Wiimote and nunchuck setup is yet another tip of the hat to Twilight Princess. Movement is dictated by the analog stick, while simple attacks and combos are performed on the remote. When it comes to tools, a flick of the wrist is all it takes to dig up dirt, cast a line, and swing a net in the wild. The overall setup serves the game well, though the camera represents the biggest nuisance. At any given time, you'll be in control of one of the Straw Hat Pirates, but if the need arises, you can switch between crewmen on the fly. Rotating men in and out is something you'll want to do often. As you use each character, their unique abilities begin to develop, culminating in new attacks, combos, and eventually special moves. Subtle as it is, the ability to switch things up with a new character and moveset injects the game with some much-needed variety. The unique qualities that define each character in battle, from Nami's various weather projectiles to Sanji's array of roundhouse kicks, is where the game begins to come into its own. Despite having a body made of rubber, Luffy doesn't quite dodge the bullet in terms of graphics. While the various character models are decent interpretations of their on-screen counterparts, the game's environments appear washed out and look just as bad with stationary character models that lack gesticulation or moving lips. To its credit, however, Unlimited Adventure does feature the show's voice talent, which adds a layer of consistency to the mix. There are a few chuckles to be had here and there, and considering how redundant the game can get, you'll appreciate the comic relief.
I think your nose stands out more than your sniping.
Contrary to its namesake, One Piece Unlimited Adventure is more of a spirited Easter egg hunt than anything else. If you can set your spyglass's sights past its simple derivative nature, Unlimited Adventure isn't such a bad game for fans. But if it's a hearty adventure game worth the coin you're after, you'd be best off saving your pieces of 8 for bigger and brighter treasure.